it's primarily maybe, it's probably for us an evolution, and we had to go through it. And within that, now some of us who have gone to the US to make a living, and after having done something there, we came back looking at the opportunity, taking advantage of India's growth story. So many people came back in the 90s and in recent times. But there's one complaint that goes around is that doing business in India is very difficult. Those of you who actually come from abroad. And that's true in a way. But there are some of us have chosen a different path. I want to just share few of those things with you. If you had been in the businesses that have very little interface with government, it is not very different from what it happens in the West. Little different, but not very different. So Ayodhya has been in the businesses where there's a lot of government interface, so he was expressing his anguish, which is true. But there are many businesses that you can do with very little interface with the government, and the IT was one such thing. Pharma, to a large extent, I would say that they still have to deal with Pollution Control Board and all of them. I see one of our the senior founders of the pharma industry here. So there are issues there also, but it's not same as being in the infrastructure business. We as a fund decided that we would invest in asset-light businesses. So that also has built into it that we don't have to deal with government that much. So most of the asset-light businesses have very little involvement with the government. And we have done over 50 investments for the past 15 years. Some successes, some failures. But overall experience has been, I would say, it's good, but not very good. And we were looking back and say that how come with all the promise that India shows that it is actually not delivered. In real numbers, it's not really good. So we were looking for, we keep analyzing all the time because we have other shareholders, other co-investors in our fund. We're not the only one. So we see that what is that, we've been telling this 1.2 billion people story for the last 15 years. We still have not delivered as a country. Yes, there are some companies have done very well, no doubt. But as a country, we have not delivered that well. So one of the reasons we find out is that the Indian entrepreneur gets satisfied very easily. So they just have some dream, and I relate to you in few interesting ways. Most of us, especially from Andhra Pradesh, the parents put a lot of pressure on the children to write the IIT exam, getting into IIT. So a lot of them, the goal is to get in the IIT. The objective is never to achieve something in life. The achievement is getting to IIT. For some of them, getting into IIT, going to America is another objective. So you reach there. Actually, you're setting up targets, you're reaching them, but we're setting up wrong targets. So then we reach America, then we're satisfied, we have a house, we have a car, and life goes on. People like me, we were there in the early 80s, and not much has changed with my friends who went along with me there. I go and visit them very often. Same thing, we're all aging. In next another 10, 20, 30 years, we're gone. Similarly, one is reaching America. There are few people say that, fine, I want to make that $1 million. So if we make that million, then you achieved your objective. So we're not setting our goals to be saying that I'll be the top engineer, top scientist, or top lawyer, or top businessman in whatever I do. Those are not the goals that we are set by our families and we ourselves. And very interestingly, that translates back to India again. And we come here, we invest in many companies. So most of the time we invest when the companies either have not started or they just started. Initial days we used to do this venture capital. Now we don't do it because our fund has grown to 1.2 billion. So we no longer can invest 5 million, 2 million kind of thing. We also look for larger investment opportunities. So mostly what we call the growth companies, which require anywhere between 50 to 100, 150 crores kind of capital. And at that stage, we are finding very interestingly, the people work very hard, they make it to a certain level. Once they reach these 500 crore, 1,000 crore level, all of a sudden growth comes down. And it's across the companies. We are not the only one. We have a lot of data to prove that one. So we were looking at why. So that is a time probably that, I'm not saying that I'm different. I was also one among them. When I had the first opportunity, I was making some money. I sold my company to Satyam Computer Services. And I was very happy to have got that time at that few hundred crores. There were many people also thinking the same way. So once they get the nice house, nice car, and some money to have a better social life, so we are tending to slow down. So that's been a very common thing. I'm not saying it's everywhere. There are some people who are very hungry. They still go forward. There's some of them drop out. But this has been a little bit of a common thing that we found across most of the Indian entrepreneurs. This I'm not saying only Telugu people or anything. And within the Telugu people, mostly around Hyderabad, there are some businesses in other cities, not many, some of them. But here we have, good afternoon, sir. So most of the businesses are around Hyderabad. And in recent times, for one reason or the other, we get into the news for wrong reasons. So every time there is some problem, the banks close the opportunities for everyone. So when Satyam thing happened, they said that anybody who has a Raju name will not be funded. Including me. Because I worked in that company in 1999, 2000. And similarly, when the other things with Ayodhya referred to, that there has been I don't want to comment on that, but something that has been a very tough time for the business people in Hyderabad. They just simply banned everyone this time. It's not the ones which is name ending Raju, but the rest of them also. And it's been a really difficult thing because when something goes wrong, everybody gets painted with the same brush. There is no way that these guys can actually differentiate. There are different businesses, different people, and they don't look at it like that. But fortunately, also these things only last for a year or two. Then people understand what went on, and the business goes on after that. But because of these reasons, that a lot of money being raised by the Hyderabad entrepreneurs, and very little has been delivered. This I want to share with you. I don't know any company has delivered from Andhra Pradesh in the last 5-6 years. You can say, fine, it's been a difficult time, I understand. But the people who invest, they appreciate, but they don't want to accept it. They still want certain results to be shown. Yes, they may accept a little bit lower ones, but they want certain results. But that's been the case. So these are some challenges that we face here. But now I'll talk about a little bit on the opportunities. This is why we have not become institutions, or what are the other reasons that we have had, in spite of the perception and the potential of the people from this region being very entrepreneurial. Opportunities wise, yes, we go back to again saying India is a large country. It has this 1.2 billion people. This story goes on. In spite of that, these various issues, I have seen people actually performing in certain sectors, certain geographies. One such sector has been doing very well, has been the healthcare sector, whether it's a pharma or the direct healthcare, which is hospitals, and the supporting services of the healthcare sector has been doing very well. IT mostly has become more, the large companies they are becoming larger. The small service companies are not, they find it difficult to grow any longer. In 90s, we have had a good time where 10, 15, 20 companies were able to reach from maybe a few $1 million to $1 billion. But today, somebody who is at a smaller size to grow to those sizes is becoming very difficult. The next generation of entrepreneurs were anticipated in technology, in the areas of products and new technologies. Unfortunately, those things have not happened many from this country. It still happens to be the Silicon Valley's forte. Most of the things happen there, or even if few people do well, they either move there or they do it from there. They may have few back offices here, but there's not too many India-based entrepreneurs have not created the new tech companies. The whole thing, whatever the revolution you have seen in the Silicon Valley in the last 5-6 years, primarily around social media, hasn't happened here. Then the next one is the e-commerce kind of thing. There's a lot of buzz now, but no company makes money. They still lose 300-400 crores a year just delivering certain goods to various people. So that's still yet to be proven whether it is going to do something. So the tech sector looks promising, but it's not been, I would say that I haven't seen too many success stories in recent times. Then the success stories we are seeing is primarily around those companies which look at the Indian market, at the Indian consumer, and in terms of both services and products. So there's a lot of people that we know that who are trying to build brands. While you have the big companies, there's still a lot of people start certain companies in various specializations to build a brand maybe for about $100 million, and then they generally tend to be bought by the large corporations who want to have that brand for them. So that industry has been doing okay. And the telecom is something which has completely been destroyed. So there are a few people now, but honestly there's not much going on there because of the various cases and other things. It was taking off very well. Some of the Indian companies became very large companies in the world. As you know, that Airtel is, if my memory is right, something like 4th largest in terms of number of subscribers in the world. But that's where they stopped last 2-3 years, as you know, that they are also sliding in their value. And then you can go sector by sector kind of thing, but there's some, I'm not an expert in everything. I don't talk much about the infrastructure and the other core industries. They go through cyclical things, so they have high up times and down times. But primarily for us, the young entrepreneurs are the people who want to be, they want to start anyway. These are not really big options. They need huge amounts of money, and nobody will give you 1,000 crores to start a company. So one has to start very small and grow from there. So the real opportunities for people like us, they come in the areas of the asset light, new economies, new sectors that emerge. In those things also we haven't done much of a innovation there. It's mostly pick up the successful models, just tweak them a little bit to the Indian market. That's what we have been doing it. So it's still, I would say, quite a bit distance for all of us to move forward. In our case, every fund has its own strategy, how they want to deal with it. There are funds that specialize in pharma, there are funds that specialize in infrastructure. We specialize in investing in the first generation entrepreneurs. What we have done, me and my partners, we have not inherited much from our parents. So whatever we have done during our lifetime. So we identify the professionals who have done very well, who have a dream to become an entrepreneur, who are willing to put the effort. So we identify them and we fund them. Two ways we do, either at a very early days, or sometimes they come to us with saying that, hey, here is a company that we can buy and grow it from there. So we do a lot of buyouts. We are one of the very few funds in India who actually buy the companies and put a management and take it forward from there. The management has a certain portion of the company, and if they also come up with some more money, they have a larger portion of the company. Many companies, we have more than 50%. Some people say, oh, 50%, you control it kind of thing. I said, where do I have the time? I don't even attend one board meeting in a year. So we don't control that way. It's primarily we want to have more than 50% because we want to control our own destiny. See, most of you know probably that the funds, if they are institutional funds, they normally are 10-year life cycle. Every 10 years you have to sell that asset and return the money back to the limited partners. That's a regulation. So now, even after 8-9 years of it, if you cannot still do it, there's a long problem. In India, one of the biggest problem is exit. The people take money, but very rarely it will ever get returned. That's a problem. And some of you who are, I'm sure there are some NRIs here, you would have put in a lot of projects. That's one of the common thing is, I have invested here, there, I'm not getting my money back, can you help, kind of thing. And then the same problem to us also. It's not very different. So the liquidity in this country is very low. There was a time we used to have some liquidity through IPOs, initial public offerings. That's almost dead. Would you believe that a country of our size, which is approximately $1 trillion of market cap, in our, stock exchange listed companies, $1 trillion. You can't sell or buy 100 crore out of it. It's $20 million thing. There's such a little liquidity. And I've been told that it's been the lowest ever public market activity ever since, the markets actually have started working in. That means there's very little money is raised. The so-called Sensex going from 15,000 to 21,000 is all just few stocks. They're called actually FII stocks. The FII stocks are the ones which will take the market up and down. The rest of them are at the same place last 3-4 years. So very little exit. That is the reason why we tend to have a majority control in the companies. So at least then we can sell the company as a whole to another strategic buyer. So there will be an exit for us, hopefully end of the 10th year. So we tell the entrepreneurs very clearly, are you here to make money? Are you here to build this company for your grandchildren? If it is for your grandchildren, sorry, we are not the right people for that. You may have to find an alternative way of funding, because we have a 10-year cycle to fulfill. But if they do really well, they can continue. When we sell the company, it doesn't mean that they exit, only we exit. So most of the companies that I have been with it, you can see that there's not, those companies which didn't make well, you don't know, but those companies are still there. Well, I was never a really big shareholder of Satyam, but Cognizant also small shareholder. These companies have become very good companies, very large companies. And in recent times also, that first IT companies, many of the companies that I have actually exited, they are still there, they're doing very well. Many of them still have the same management continuing, but they're different set of shareholders. So, but we have an ability to exit ourselves. Sometimes these guys merge with somebody, and because if you have been an entrepreneur for 5-10 years, and your company is bought over by some big multinational company, and it's very difficult for you to work as an employee. And I can understand why Prasad Reddy Garu is nodding to me, because he's also one such person, built a great company that is merged with another large international company. So that is the reason why we look at a majority shareholding, not to control. None of us have check signing powers. We don't even go to the board meetings that often actually. So that these are the different models that people follow. Of course, we've been, now some of them think that maybe this is the right strategy. At least you get some exit, if not the big exit, some exits come. So that is, so people who want to actually build companies, who want to make money, don't worry about, who owns what percentage. Anyway, most of these companies, when they're private, they're all determined by the shareholders agreement. It's only when it's public, it's this shareholdings come into handy, because all shareholders are equal. But in private companies, the agreements dictate the priorities of who gets what. So one need not worry. People can actually take money from anyone. And this is something people also ask me very often, the questions being that, if we take money from you, that some people say that, venture capitalists or these private equity fellows are difficult to deal with. Is it a good thing, bad thing kind of thing? I can say only one thing. That is, we are only giving money, we are not taking money. So the person who is giving money cannot be wrong. So we just have only one agenda in our life, to build a company, all together make the money. So when we cannot make ourselves money alone, by the way, because that's how the structures work. So everybody has to make money in that one. So one doesn't have to really worry about it at all. But the agenda has to be clear. Initially, when the investments are being made, people need to have good clarity. If somebody thinks that, okay, fine, I'll tell all these lies, get this money, once the money is in, then I'll do my own way. That's when the conflicts come. But if the person truly believes in the agreement that is signed, I don't see conflicts coming at all. Okay. So I just want to, at the end of my address, that there are lots of opportunities still, many issues. Those of you who do not know, who don't want to, or who do not know how to deal with the government, you have choices. There are a lot of businesses you don't have to. You can build a lot of large companies here. The opportunities exist. And the low-hanging fruit are too many in this country. That's why we get satisfied too early. And I also want to tell you that the few good people really do well. That means there's a lot of mediocrity. So you don't have to be really that great to be successful here. So if you are better than the average person, you will do well. So this, in spite of all the lot of talking, lot of reading that you do, The opportunities exist. You can really make it good, but and as long as you have a big dream. Thank you for inviting me. Bye.